power of this technology goes so far beyond what like the typical like table conversation about VR gives it credit for. You know, like we talk about it as like a useful tool or an immersive, fun experience, but what we're talking about is like truly transformational.
It should be perfectly possible to trick your brain into any experience if your brain can already do that itself naturally. So VR is almost like taking that ability for our brain to generate any experience for us and like putting it in our hands, which is wild.
Man, that's something in the history books. People are going to look back and be like, yeah, 2022, 2023. That's when education, after hundreds of years, finally upgraded.
We're in a strange time where our physical worlds are intersecting with our digital identities, and right now is a time to kind of determine what you want that to be.
Once you have full body tracking that works well and it's frictionless, right? Meaning it's easy to do.
Yes.
It's a whole new, it's not a game changer, it's a whole new game.
So maybe there will be some other people who would be curious to see what I'm learning, what I'm discovering, so to say. And that's how the Discover YouTube channel started.
Oh, not really disco VR, Discover.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel bad when people ask me about VR, or they're like, what do you do? Like, all right. You asked.
Yes.
Here it comes.
I love VR, but I love going out and breathing fresh air. And not only was I stuck in VR for 10 days, I was stuck in one room because I was streaming, you know, the same space. I didn't see the sunlight. I totally lost track of what time everything was.
She dances with the robot. She does the first steps. She dances with that robot. She takes that thing off her fist. I have the video. I'm holding it hostage. She takes it off her head and she says, I gotta have it.
There are a few moments in my life I can remember very vividly. The day I got married, the day my kids were born, the day Facebook announced that they bought Oculus is one of those days. I was making chili.
I've been in a lot of gaming communities, and the VR community is by far the best community that I've ever been involved with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Between Realities VR podcast. It feels great to be here, I gotta say.
Man, it's great to be back on the ship. We've been gone, traveling all over the place, man. Oh, it takes a lot out of you to travel all that time. And then like all this news that's been happening, it's just like serotonin constantly bombarding my brain. I can't even like handle it anymore. I need to like sleep for a day.
I feel you, bro. I feel you. I've actually been waking up at like 5 a.m. every single day, and I think it's a result of the traveling that we just did, like being in different time zones and stuff like that, and just being so tired that I'm like passing out at like 9:30, 10 p.m. But we're here, and it is pretty exciting. I gotta say, my name's Alex, by the way, Alex VR, as some of you may know me as.
God, it's Alex VR.
I know. No autographs, okay? No autographs, please. Yes, I'm here, and I am one of the hosts of the show. This other voice that you've been hearing, and this beautiful man sitting before you, if you're happy to see this on YouTube or maybe the video Spotify version, is Skiva.
What's up? Woo! How's it going, buddy?
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Things could be worse, brother.
I know. That is a true statement right now. I always say that it's a great time to be in VR. But man, is it a great time to be in VR?
Dude, you're going to be like the wolf that cried VR one of these days,
But there's always so much happening. Like I get excited for all the little things, and the big things happen, and I just get excited. I can't help it. I just love this so much.
It was a great week, as all of you know, because all of you have been here before. That's why I said welcome back, right? Because everybody knows what's going on here. But, as all of you know, we went to Augmented World Expo in Santa Clara, California this past week. Skiva was there representing his company, Impact Reality, meeting up with people, making connections.
And representing Between Realities.
True that.
Absolutely.
True that.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate. He's out there repping Between Realities logos everywhere, which, by the way, you should be doing as well. there's a link in the description for our merch store. Please purchase something today.
Yeah, sure.
Do that and then wear it to a conference like Skiva. So that's great. And I was there representing Contact CI. Was between realities, if I'm being completely honest. Like, obviously I'm always representing between realities, but I didn't have an opportunity to wear any of our logos or anything. But I was holding down the booth, giving people haptic glove demos. On Friday we had like a bit of a snag in terms of our demo experience, so we kind of had to shut stuff down for a couple of hours, and some missed opportunities there. But by Friday, like, everything got ironed out. We were up and running, had a really, really good time, and made some seriously great connections for my company. So things are good.
And I have a couple things I want to talk about with AWE, just maybe 5 minutes worth, but we do need to bring her in our guest because I need the monitor to do so.
We'll do that.
But,
we'll do that.
But yeah, we won't harp long on it because there's just too much. Normally I would just talk about AWE the whole time because there was so much.
I know.
Right? But like, there's just...
I know. Yeah, we'll just have to breeze through a little bit of our past week, right? Because we went from AWE to Denver, Colorado.
Oh, that's right.
To visit and see the very first and very last Echo VR LAN tournament put on by Virtual Reality Master League, VRML. And we had an opportunity to kind of be involved in that. We'll do a few specifics. Before we bring on today's guest, though, I do want to say hello to everybody who is joining us in the live chat right here on YouTube. It's great to see you guys getting things done first in the chat for me here today. So it's going to be an amazing episode. We got to meet getting things done, right?
We did. Jadon and Joy Rain, the excited metaverse duo, and they were exactly as energetic and amazing and beautiful as they are on their podcast.
Amen.
It was absolutely phenomenal.
Amen. Qcreator in the chat. The weekend begins.
What's up?
You are damn right, Qcreator. You know that? Tones my bones, man. Good to see you.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I feel like it's been a minute since I saw you in the chat, but always a pleasure. Waffy's in the house. Spatial Realities. Ooh, changing the name to Spatial Realities. Ooh. I wonder what prompted that. Paradise Decay's in the house. My squid brother. Good to see you, man.
What's up, PD?
Short Stack VR dropping the Skiva emojis. I absolutely love it.
Buddy? How
Ashley
are you?
C. We made it. Happy Friday.
Hey, we saw
Thank you for
Ashley
being here.
at AWE as well. How's it going?
That we did. She's actually in our little intro there too, talking about the cross section between our digital identities and our real selves.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Very cool.
Yes. Amelia Faust in the house. That's right.
How's
VR with Jasmine, who I'm sure she misses me dearly. Jasmine knocked a $30 cocktail out of my hand.
She told me like right after it happened. She gave me the full story. Yeah, it's like $33.
She still owes me. Yeah, she still owes me a drink. Hey, call me Clay in the house. Yeah, baby, we're here. Space Denizen, the Void Citizen.
What's up, Void? How's it going?
Recycled is here as well.
Hey.
Ooh, a little Loco Limbo in the house too.
Oh, hello.
Duggars K commenting on us being on time. Thank you, Skiva.
Yeah, are we? We're almost always on time.
Well, I mean,
like 99% of the time.
Maybe they're like, thinking about crewcast.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about those crazy crewcast people.
Chi-Town D, who we got to spend some time with in Denver.
Oh, D.
That was very good. Her and I were taking turns in Skiva's hoodie.
Yeah, we got to, that's right. Got to hang out with D and Roots in Denver, Colorado. Yeah, and one of our Patreons, Zug, who is also known as Infamous Swiss.
That's true.
So, yeah.
That was great. Yep. The handy-capable gamer is here, which is great. E-Pilot 007 also in the house.
What's up?
Hussein X here.
Hussein, how's it going?
Red/Ace, who we saw with his haptic glove walking around at AWE for one of the days.
Yeah, man. That was great.
Pete Austin is here. Hey, Pete.
Hello.
Guy Godin is here.
Hey, what's up, Guy Godin?
That's pretty awesome.
How's it going?
Yeah, I'm sure you are probably hard at work at Virtual Desktop for Apple, right?
Right.
Q2C VR Gamer is here. That's Eric Masher.
Oh, what's up, Eric? How's it going, buddy?
Danny Hunkley.
Oh, Danny.
One of our original supporters.
Wow,
here on
the OG. How's it going, buddy?
Truly.
How are you?
Glitch Fandango also in the house. I love it. Hope you're doing well,
Glitch?
brother.
How are you?
Bluebell in the house, of course. We need Bluebell here.
What's up?
Joe Michaels is here. What's up, man?
There.
From Hapdex. Fantastic to see you, my good sir.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks for tuning in.
Love me some Hapdex.
Amen. Yeah, that demo is compelling, to say the least.
It's so good.
Got to got to hang out with him for a minute at AWE. Stopped by our booth and we chatted for a while.
Nice.
I appreciate you, brother.
Nice.
Brandon VR in the house as well.
Brandon VR is saying that the drink is more than a VR game. Man, how lucky are we that we can play like amazing virtual reality games for less than the price of an expensive California cocktail?
For real. Yeah. Well, it was a double, to be fair.
Sure.
But it's like one of those doubles that they charge you double.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a bump in price. They're like, okay, that's 2 drinks.
It's better to just get 2 drinks.
It literally is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you know, the lines, whatever.
I know. I feel you.
Mickyberr.
What's up, Mickyberr?
Mickyberr, that's right. Sampler 19, of course, as well.
What's up?
Man, you know, I gotta say,
Show Futuristic. Did we say Show? How's it going? We got to see Show at AWE as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is great. I watched your video this morning on AWE Show. That was super fun.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for putting that up there. It's great.
I haven't seen it yet. Nice. Bluebell dropping a $9.99 super chat.
Ooh,
that's right.
Very nice.
She says to help you save for the Apple Pro, and thank you for your hard work.
All right.
Well, we will. We're gonna need more super chats.
Yeah, we're gonna need like 1,000 more of those. I think.
But we love you dearly, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate
Alex0393 rocking it with the best name in the biz.
All right.
I absolutely love it.
Bring all the Alexes.
Yep. Well, no. All right. There's enough. Jammy Rex in the house, stopping in to say hi before they drive home. Thanks for stopping in.
Let's go.
Smash Drums, dude. Dropping $23.99 in euros. That's a fatty denomination right there, if I've ever heard of one.
PotamWorks. You know, you should go check out Smash Drums if you haven't revisited it in a while. They continue to make that game better, cooler, multiple modes, like a Guitar Hero type mode where like the rail comes in towards you and you're beating the drums, as well as, you know, the standard Smash Drums mode. It is so good. And there's a Between Realities drum kit in there that you have to grind a little to unlock, but it's so worth it.
I get hyped every single time I think about that thing. And by the way, they say, Potom says, beer's on the house. Have a nice one, fellas.
Heck yeah.
Bro, you're the man. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Shagsy's here. Mind Jive is here. Samson143 from the Let's Talk Oculus podcast is dropping $4.99 in the super chat saying, hey, VR fam, good to see you. Days Netic in the house. How's it going, bro? Reverend JR also here. Tones My Bones dropping $5. Oh my God, what is going on up in here right now? We really appreciate all of your support.
We really do.
And we thank you for being here. And for the love of God, we have to get this guy on the show now.
We do.
Editor-in-chief of UploadVR, right? Arguably, you know, one of the most prominent VR journalists in the space, and one of the few privileged people to actually have hands-on experience with the new Apple Vision Pro mixed reality headset that was just announced. It's super exciting. And also the host of his own podcast called VR Download on UploadVR.com, usually hiding behind an avatar, today in the flesh on the Between Realities ship. Please welcome to the Between Realities VR podcast, Ian Hamilton.
Hey, what's up, Ian?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's going great, man. It's going great. As I'm sure you heard me say, I am stoked with all the VR stuff happening.
Oh, yeah. It's overwhelming. It's unbelievable when you've been at this long and then you see both Apple and Meta going at it. It's like I told you so on like steroids, right? It's like it's just no feeling like it, right?
There really isn't. Yeah, who would have guessed it was Facebook and Apple who would be talking about?
I know. That's crazy. I mean, when you think about it, like most of the big companies are like dabbling in this now. You know, you have Facebook/Meta, right? You got Apple now. Microsoft has poked their toes in many times. Samsung, right? We've had Dell and Acer and a bunch of the PC companies and Asus and a bunch kind of stick their feet in with the Windows mixed reality back in the day. We have Sony with PlayStation VR 2. Like there's just so much. And like it just makes me so happy because all of these companies know, even though we don't have complete mass adoption yet, they all know this is the future and they just keep investing and making this better and better.
Is that true, Ian? Would you agree with that? Do you think these companies know that this is the future?
Yeah, no, that's half of the companies, more than half of the companies you just named, invested in like an accessory for a PC, right? Like that's as far as they got, and the market wasn't quite big enough for something to stand on its own, like a business to stand on its own for most of those companies. I don't think most companies thought standalone was worth the investment, and Apple and Meta are saying it is worth the investment. I mean, Google is the purest example of this, right? They had, by all accounts, a standalone device somewhere, being shown around Google's offices. They had the dev kit, which had all the pieces necessary to be a Quest competitor, and they're just like, no, we're good.
That's Google for you, though. Google is one of those companies that they dabble in something and they drop it. There are more discontinuations of things from Google than I have seen in most other major companies. But at least daps to them for trying, putting the people to work on some of these things. And then when things do kind of blow up, they usually come back into it. So
yeah. Duggars K just like rolling this super chat hype train through five pounds. One of these days, I'm gonna be able to immediately recognize the difference between a pound sign and the euro sign. I feel like it's all due to you, our Between Realities community, teaching me about the different monetary denominations of the world.
Yes, you are making Alex a more cultural person.
Yes, you are. And they say super chat hype train. Out of interest, who takes a bigger cut, Patreon or YouTube for membership?
I think they're both 30%.
Yeah, the same.
Yeah. I think the Buy Me a Coffee thing, which we don't have at the moment, is like 10% or something.
Yeah, that's like the best one. But Patreon's cool because we like offer like a reward here or there if you're signed up.
Yeah, totally.
And YouTube is also cool because then you can like get a super chat, like a bigger contribution to the.
Yeah, and you get a little logo next to your name. Yeah. But either way, guys, please don't ever feel like you have to give anything here. We do appreciate it, and this stuff, obviously, as you've seen with the $3,500 Vision Pro, this stuff is an expensive habit. So we do appreciate it, but it's never ever required.
We do, and we really appreciate you joining us today, Ian. You are a busy dude, right? And it's fantastic to have you like in the flesh on the Between Realities ship. Most of the time you're kind of hiding behind your avatar over there on the VR download. Like, how are you feeling right now? Are you feeling a little vulnerable, or are you all right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's I don't normally bring out the lights on the camera. Had to go buy a couple USB-C adapters to actually hook up the camera to the actual laptop I wanted to hook it up to. So you're one of the rare times you get me on a physical camera here.
It means a lot.
It's weird to come out of my shell a little bit and be public. Yeah.
Well, it means a lot to us, man.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And the community.
And the community for sure. Yeah. I've seen multiple chats being like, yo, it's Ian. Like, no, it's actually Ian, So we love it, man. And we're really happy to have you here, and we're really happy to dive into it because, you are frankly like crushing it. Like things have been, it's been a really exciting year for you. Like, I mean, I assume like, we all intend to be involved in this, right? Like we all intend to get some awesome position within the VR space and like make a valuable contribution to the industry and the community. But, did you see all of this happening when you got into this? Did you think like one day you're going to be like one of the most prominent VR journalists in the space?
I appreciate you saying that. You don't hear it often. I don't know. It's not like I put that on my Twitter bio. It's not like I hear it often, so I appreciate hearing it. No, I mean, you kind of dream of the market turning out the way it has. You kind of dream that you're right. I mean, I've written 3 editorials this week. I did my hands-on with the actual device. Before I was even able to do that, I did another one of just explaining that this is validation for the VR industry, right? That's a big thing to capture. I saw Geeko in your comments saying, it's nice to know you're part of an industry that's not going to disappear, and that is a beautiful, beautiful way of sharing the sentiment of getting there to that moment of Apple validating what Meta's doing, and then also what so many devs have been doing for the last decade. But like, when I started out covering this, I was going back to my editors feeling like I had seen the future, and they're not seeing the future. And one of my old editors replied to me on Twitter this week, reminding me of a demo that I marched him to right before Oculus got acquired, as I'm basically, turning around to anyone that'll listen to me saying, this is going to happen, we're going to wear headsets and glasses as our personal computers in the future. And, I'm sure you guys have had the same thing. I'm sure people in our comments have had the same endless conversation with your family and friends where it's like, why are you so focused on this? Why aren't there other things you could be doing with your time? And it's like, no, I've seen the future. It's going to happen. And Apple confirmed it this week, and it feels good, right?
It really does, man. Yeah, and I'm so excited to like get into it and hear some of your impressions and kind of what you thought about the device. But before we do, I was hoping you could explain to us a little bit the story behind the image that you use like as your banner on Twitter and that we have featured on our thumbnail, right? This taped together piece of something with an Oculus logo on the front of it, right? Like this is some old school stuff. What year did you say this was taken in?
Well, I mean, in the picture it says 2012 in the file name. Is this 2012? This looks like the original Oculus Rift that's taped together that you're wearing here, and we have the picture up on the screen now.
I think they had several of their first kits were of that caliber. I could be wrong. But yes, all right. So I was a technology reporter at the Orange County Register. I went to school at Cal State Fullerton for journalism. I was addicted to journalism since I was in high school. It was my club, my big club. Did a couple other things, but putting out the newspaper in high school was enormously fun. Carried it over to college, and after college ended up at the Orange County Register, which was the local sort of daily newspaper right in the Disneyland area, and just so happens right where Palmer Luckey was and where he started Oculus. So that summer that it happened, I started seeing some of the buzz coming out of E3 and other places, and there was like a border. Long Beach is technically not in Orange County. And it was like the border between Long Beach and Newport Beach was kind of where you considered your coverage area, or how I considered my coverage area back then. It's like my audience isn't necessarily interested in stuff that's going on in Long Beach, but they might be interested in stuff that's going on in Newport Beach. Well, Palmer Luckey was from Long Beach, and I'm like, oh no, that's not actually. I can't make an excuse to cover that too much. And then sure enough, I saw the first office was set in Irvine, which is in the heart of Orange County. So I'm starting to reach out to PR, and I did a couple stories, I think little ones. I also did a couple stories on like a cave installation that Disney had. So Disney was doing their 3D visualization for their park. So like before Cars Land was built at Disneyland, they had all the sightlines visualized in VR headsets, so they could see, what would be visible behind the big buildings that they're building, and they were using VR for that a long time before Oculus. There's also a couple other Orange County companies that I, dabbled in or talked to for their VR technologies, and then got to the end of, like near the end, November-ish of 2012. Oculus has done great on its Kickstarter. It's starting to build, and I asked to see the demo and got to go over to the Irvine headquarters, see what they had, and brought a photographer along. I'd already done a couple little things, and I decided this was my big time to really kind of explain what this team is shaping up to be, what they're really out to do. And went out there to their offices in Irvine, and Palmer Luckey is standing there with like a desk in front of him, or a table, and there's just disassembled everything, right? Just pieces of every kind of electronics you can imagine in front of him. I remember even then, like, they were scared of the things Luckey might say. Like they were nervous about how media ready he was to talk to people. But I walked up to him and have a little recording of me just trying to get out of him what's going on, what's from his perspective. Spent most of my time with Brendan, who's the other person in that photo, the CEO at the time, Brendan E. Reed, the first CEO of Oculus. There's the whole story there is recapped really well already in History of the Future, Blake Harris's book. But I had that first moment of, Brendan took me and put me into that headset you're talking about in the photo. Got to see a couple sci-fi demos. It was probably probably some kind of version of id Tech that I saw. I never, even back then, Oculus was a little weird about being specific about what you were seeing, because they were just coming together in their first days as a startup, and like they needed to make a lot of friends and a lot of people fund them for more money without angering any of the existing parties. And so they were like, trying not to say certain things, trying to say other things.
Right.
I came away from that demo, wrote up an article about this cooperation, this plan of like taking Palmer Luckey's expertise, taking the economics that had made high resolution screens affordable for mobile phones, and sort of applying that to this idea of virtual reality. And I laid it all out in an article, and I remember that was like the cover of the business section, and then afterwards Oculus had it at the entrance, like right when you get off the elevators. It was framed, that article was at the front of their offices for a couple years there.
Wow,
and
that's
I
cool.
recall the reason it was there, they said it was the first mainstream outlet that kind of took them seriously, was the way that they framed it or thought about it. And sure enough, yeah, I mean, I kept coming back to my editors asking for more stories, and it's just like, I remember having a conversation before I quit that job, where I went to my editor and said, how much of my time can I devote to VR? And they were like, a third. And I'm like, all right, I'll keep that in mind. And, I didn't last there long, right? So that's my story of how that photo happened.
Damn. And then you blinked, and then all of a sudden you're taking selfies with Norman Chan at WWDC, and you're one of the first VR journalists to get their hands on this like pivotal device. Like, what was the vibe while you were there at WWDC? Was it like electric? Were people freaking out? Was everybody kind of calm and collected? Like, tell me about that.
If you're surrounded by professionals, so I mean, people are pretty, keeping their cool as much as they can, and it was hard for me to frame everything I was witnessing, right? And I talked to Kent Bye earlier this week and recap some of this, but I'll try to recap this picture for you of. I put on the Meta Ray-Ban Story sunglasses because I wasn't going to do the selfie stick thing around Apple headquarters, and I started recording minutes of footage of me just walking around this giant spaceship campus. There's a ridiculous number of employees that are like directing you where to go. You got to go through security to get in there. They've got a visitor center right across from the campus with, which was the area where you can go and get all their free snacks, and there's more free snacks inside. But like this intro moment of arriving at Apple campus and knowing that like when I had my first Apple device, I mean, I was a little kid and my family had an Apple II from the 80s. That was like the first device I went over and learned the basics of what a computer was. I couldn't really operate it myself, but saw plenty of others do it, and eventually started playing with myself with even the giant floppy disks to play games like Police Quest. That was one of the games I first remember checking out on an Apple. But then you flash forward and I get an iMac as my first personal computer, and then I'm kind of hooked on the iPod, and I'm getting the iPod, and I got the first iPhone. I took an entire paycheck from that job at the I was an intern at the Orange County Register at the time. I took an entire paycheck, went down to the AT&T store the next day, and didn't stay in line, and got my first iPhone. Then I went back to college that fall with the first iPhone, and I remember feeling like I had the future in my hands, right? I felt, I know that I'm using an interface that, I copied. I knew it, right, in my heart. And I remember all these experiences walking around with my college classmates, none of whom have this app-powered phone yet. And like, I'm navigating step-by-step directions using Google Maps on my phone. And I had the full web browser in my pocket. Those things that Steve Jobs came out on stage and pitched as killer features of this first device. Now, so like I've got that college history, I've got high school history, kid history with this specific company, and recognizing that like there's a through line in these computers becoming simpler, more powerful, doing more things for me, helping me do more things with the technology. And it goes right through the iPhone. And now, all of that said, the company that Apple is today is so different from the company that it was when it shipped that iPhone, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm walking into that day. That's what I'm witnessing, is like, this is literally the building that the iPhone built, like just this enormous like space station structure, and all these employees, like this ridiculous retail footprint. It's a huge company, and it wasn't that huge back when the iPhone first shipped. So I'm taking all of that in as I'm like, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? Running that through in my head, looking for Ben Lang and Norm, because I know they're the VR experts that were invited to this. And the keynote starts, and Tim Cook walks out on stage right before the keynote starts, says something very quickly about this being one of the biggest days in Apple history, and then throws to a video for the rest of the hour and a half. Right, so there was no true value in me actually being there any more than any of you watching that keynote video from home.
Yeah.
But it was still this momentous moment to see the house that iPhone built and how they're going to play with this next phase.
Which is pretty wild when you think about it, because when rumors started hitting about that original iPhone, people had a lot of doubt. People were saying that, oh, this is ridiculous. Why would Apple go into phones? They don't know what they're doing. They're going to fail. Stock prices started dropping. All of these things started happening. And now you're standing in this giant spaceship looking building at a $3 trillion company that this phone pretty much created, right? It's pretty wild, because then, I feel like Apple has this history, just like when the iPad came out. I remember I've watched all of these keynotes like live as they're happening. I've always been a technology fanboy. I've watched all the Google stuff, all the Apple stuff, followed all of this stuff very closely. I remember when Steve Jobs came out on stage to announce the iPad, no one clapped. Everyone was like, what is this? It's a big phone. They've lost their minds again. Again, stock prices went through the floor, and Steve's up there, no applause, going, no, really, you got to try this thing. Once you get it in your hands, you'll understand, right? And then all of a sudden, what happened? Now iPad is one of the biggest pieces of technology in the world. We just keep seeing that, even though the masses don't always understand what Apple is trying to accomplish, most of the time, they've been right, Right. So it's interesting to see. Now, that being said, I don't think, right off the bat, they're going to make a fortune off of $3,500 headsets. I don't think it's going to be, a mass, have a big audience at the very beginning. But, the iPhone didn't start super strong either. I mean, yeah, when you really think about it. So this is all very interesting. It's a very pivotal part of history here to watch.
Yeah, Tones My Bones with a $2 super chat. Thank you, dude. Saying Vision Pro is Apple's replacement for the iPhone. And I think that there's definitely a lot of people out there who kind of have that perspective. Ian, based off of what you saw, we'll kind of start high level, and then maybe we'll go into some specifics. Do you think that this is kind of a history repeating itself thing where because I got to be honest, I was a little taken aback when I saw the public community response to this device's announcement. We were all losing our minds when we were watching.
I was trying not to cry.
Yeah, we were freaking out, and I'm
literally in tears.
I'm in a call with the entire Contact CI team in one ear. I've got Mash and Skiva in the Airbnb in my other ear, and I'm yelling at both parties. We're kind of freaking out, and then we do the crew cast, and 75% of that chat is just slamming it. They're saying that this is a huge miss and blah blah blah. So based off of what you saw, Ian, do you think that people will get it? They just don't understand it yet? Is it kind of like the iPad thing that happened, or is there some merit to people's I don't know, I guess apprehension to this device?
There's a lot of ways to take that, a lot of directions to go. It was the best technology demo of my lifetime. We started talking about the the first time I tried an Oculus Rift prototype with that duct tape thing, it opened my mind to the possibility that virtual worlds are places I want to go. I actually want to go and transport myself there. I don't want to just view them through a flat screen. This demo impressed me to a degree. It's just I'm still coming to terms with. I've written 3 pieces or 2.5 pieces after this demo, and I'm still processing the weight of what I witnessed. It was a controlled demo. There was the feeling that a lot of this interface wasn't done, right? Like it's just they're still finishing these ideas. And there's this layer of the story that I want to understand because I've had a lot of sources over the years go to Apple. They've become Apple employees after I've talked to them. And they shut up on me, right? I'm not gonna ask them a question that's gonna threaten their livelihood. I don't need to know it that and that bad. Mm-hmm. I'll still ask from time to time, but I won't expect an answer. That's the way I treat all of these people who get sucked up to the mothership. And they're still quiet, right? It's still in development, and I think there's still surprises in store. I don't think this is the end. This is the very beginning of the beginning of Tim Cook going, I'm not going to let you take this, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, like, that's, it's not, I'm putting words in his mouth, but like, that's what this feels like. I don't want to get lost in terminology and talk about debates over words. There's enough lost brain power to the marketing terminology that these companies are pushing down our throats. It's a personal computer you wear on your face is the future, right? Something that does everything for you. And I wrote this piece today where it's like, what Apple announced was a breakthrough internet communications device, a phone, and a new kind of personal computer. 3 devices: a phone, personal computer, and a breakthrough internet communications device. And if that sounds familiar to you, you've heard it before. You heard Steve Jobs introduce the iPhone that way. Tim Cook did not introduce Vision Pro that way, but he's not Steve Jobs, right? So, I mean, you can't expect him to do this in the same way he did. It was still a powerful pitch and a very big moment to have Apple say, Apple Vision, there's augmenting an entire sense for our customers is something we're willing to do and we feel like we're ready to do. Like that's what I see in the naming of the product and actually announcing it at this point in time.
Man, so you're right. So Tim didn't say that, but at the end, I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name that was up there. But he said, this is a great value. It's multiple screens and a computer and blah, 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 all packed into one for, $3,500, which is a lot. But I think what a lot of people are missing here is, this is going to raise all of VR. When the iPhone came out, there was no Android, right? And then, it spawned this whole smartphone market, which raised, all of the, which raised the entire thing up, and people really started to understand the value of it because, they were out there doing demos and their friends had one and all of this. But I think, at first we'll see people, maybe doing demos of this in the store and then going out and maybe going, well, I can't afford $3,500 right now. Maybe I'll go get a Quest 3, right? And start to dabble in spatial computing and dabble in VR and AR. So I think this is just going to be huge for everyone, Again, a $3 trillion company like Apple coming out with a device at all is validation to a lot of people that this technology is legit, right, and it's here to stay. So this is all, I feel like this is all Extremely exciting.
This is super exciting. So why don't you walk us through, Ian, a little bit of like how your demo went? Like I'm sure they have like a curtain that they pull back and they like take you to some secret room.
Yeah, I'll walk you to the lead up to it. So the way my schedule worked, there was a keynote the first day, and I had a scheduled time for a briefing the second day. The thing on my calendar said briefing. It didn't actually say demo time initially. So there's still a small chance that I'm going to get to this meeting, and it's just going to be people walking me through an Apple keynote presentation instead of actually putting a headset on my head, even though I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it. So my first day there, I'm spent just processing, writing an editorial, processing this moment in history, right? Validation that we just talked about, right? Then I got going the second morning, got there very early, wrote to my contact to say I'm there and I'm ready to go early if you are, and they're like, no, we're going to go over at the specific time listed in your schedule. All right, fine. So they have carts, and so there's a cart that I take today. So the first day I'm walking in, now they've got a cart for the journalists that are picked to go see it. The five of us jump into this cart, and then they're carting us around Apple Park. And like, if you haven't seen Apple Park, yeah, right, it's this giant, enormous structure, big, giant circle building that's been talked about everywhere. But it's surrounded by nature. As I understand it, there was like a shortage of certain types of trees globally because they took that many trees to plant in this Apple Park to make it as green as it is. So
that's pretty wild.
It's just nature over on the left and this giant glass building on the right, and they're carting us by. Every Apple employee is swooping by the sides of the cart, and it's like I can hear the Jurassic Park music playing in my head. That's what it feels like riding in to this situation. And they pull us around to this building in the back, and the building is separated by this giant green lawn between the spaceship and the building where they're going to give the demos. And so I've got video of me getting out of the cart and walking up to this thing. There's no doors on the building. It's just this giant white entry opening with a few steps up into the building. It has all the vibes of the gates of heaven, of you getting, so you walk up these steps and they've got tablets out in front of them to check to see if your name is on the tablet.
That's like, what is it, like St. Peter, like making sure that you made it?
Check to make sure I'm on the list. Yeah, exactly. And now my name is on the list, and it's like, now I've got I've got the relief that I'm actually going to see this demo. My article goes out talking about how big of a moment it is and confirming that we're actually gonna get a demo. They take my glasses, so they have a room right at the front of this building, and they take me in the room and say, do you wear prescription glasses? First time like I've been asked that kind of question or in that kind of way. I'm like, yeah, I do. And they say, do you have them with me? And I go, okay, I do have them with me. I pull them out of my backpack. I don't normally wear them, but I did have them with me. They take the glasses out, put them on a machine, and more or less measure my prescription based on putting my glasses on the machine. Then I walk out of that room. They face scan me doing the way you do the Face ID unlock. Then they do like an ear scan, because that'll improve the audio to do an ear scan.
What?
So that it's HRTF, I think is the term. But yeah, they will scan the geometry of your ear, I believe. They take my physical measurements, put them in their system, and I sit down for 20 minutes just waiting. So I think they tuned a headset specifically to my specifications during that time. I'm not sure how much they did that, but after 20 minutes, I get walked into a room, very small room, headset sitting there on a table with the battery pack right next to it. And now they're going to walk me through the most scripted, like, 30 minutes of my life, right? They're going to give me the same spiel on how this thing functions. They got to walk me through every single step very specifically. I'm ready to just pick this thing up and go into it stupid, right? Like, I've been in enough headsets. I'm going to screw this up. I'm fine with that. I will figure my way out. Let me do this, please. No, they weren't going to let me do it that way. So explaining a couple of the buttons, and then I put it on my head. Then it does the familiar sort of eye calibration system that you see in the other company that's
PlayStation VR.
Yeah, the PlayStation VR company, Tobii. Tobii is the eye tracking company in there, and you look at a dot. It's a similar sort of system for syncing up your eyes. I almost screwed that system up because I was that excited and asking questions because I'm supposed to like look at the dots. I'm getting distracted. So they do that, and then boom, it fades in, pass through, and I want to say it did hello in front of me in like tilt brush type lettering. Super solid to the room, grounded to the floor. But what got me, the memory, the lasting memory, is looking down at my hands right in front of me and feeling a connection to them that was missing in every other pass-through experience I've tried, right? I remember I went to the Quest Pro first demos they were doing for that last year, and I was like really, really let down by the quality of the phone cameras. Now, it's hard to say that, and everything in VR is like hard to describe these things relative to each other. Because yeah, I will take bad resolution color cameras over the black and white cameras that they have prior to the color cameras, but this still isn't like eye-opening pass-through. Vision Pro, the pass-through that this moment of seeing my hands, I can totally understand any number of journalists going, or any person, period, when they have this in stores, going into this demo, looking down, and thinking they're looking through glass at their hands.
Really?
It's this magic trick. Now, I don't know if it'll be the same for everyone. Like, that's me. This is me. This is my reaction. But I do think that there will be a large number of people who look down and think they're looking through glass at their hands. And it's not perfect, right? There's limitations to the quality of this pass-through across the board, but it's still like over a threshold that nothing else has come close to, at least for me. And again, like so I left that room right at the front where they measured my glasses, and the guy goes, is there anything else about your vision that I should know about? And I'm like, well, that's a weird question. Like, I've never had a VR demo person ask me that before. Thank you. That was really kind of you. That was sweet. But like, I immediately told them my IPD is irregular, right? It's asymmetric. So the distance from the center of my face to my eyes is not the same. And now once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll be looking at my irregular eyes every time you look at them. It's a few millimeters different. So when you give the whole millimeters of 66, 67, it's 32 on this side, it's 34 on this side, or something like that. Those millimeters off can have a dramatic effect on the overall like sync up of this immersion. I went into Big Screen Beyond, and I have one of the first demos of Big Screen Beyond, right? Like, he's given those out to very specific people, and I've talked to him for a long time. He gave me a Big Screen Beyond demo, and I'm going into it going, like, something might be off about the way your optics are built for my face, right? And how do I abstract from like my particular experience to how hundreds of millions of people are going to experience these things? All that's to say, right? I explained the asymmetry to the person at the front. He's like, it shouldn't be a problem. It's like, oh, okay, well, thank you. And it was the best VR visuals I've ever seen. That's
wow. Okay, so let me like get an image of this in my head. Are you like sitting at a table? Are you standing up? Like, where's the battery pack?
All right, so this is all right. So let me walk. I've given you all the lead up to it, right? All right. So put on the headset. They walk me through the initial interface. I'm sitting on a couch. I've got one Apple employee to my left, one Apple employee to my right. They're both seated on chairs. So I feel like I gotta be seated, and I'm like asking them like from the first few minutes, can I get up and walk around? And like, no, just wait on that a few minutes. Okay, so the whole most of the demo is me sitting back with my arms right in front of me, and they're teaching me. So after the basic interface, they're now teaching me how to pinch and look and pinch. And that's the fundamental interface of the whole system, right? So he's showing me where the UI is around the windows, so I can look up in a corner and grab and reposition things, or grab a little tray that's underneath the windows and pull them around. Use the dial to zoom in and out of VR or go to AR view, and use it for other things. Like it's contextualized. Like I think it can also adjust volume on the sides of the speakers. But like, I still have to go, like, I'm starting to walk you through what I actually did in the demo, but I still have to go back and explain. I put this headset on, there's a dial on the back of the thing, I turn it like half a knob, and then I take the strap and I put it over like this, and the guy says, oh, you didn't get the strap right. So I do it like this again, and I pull it over, and there's that top strap, and I'm done. That's the like, even though I screwed up the strap twice, it's still the fastest I've ever fitted into a VR headset, right? Like I've been there for 5 minutes just adjusting the thing, getting multiple straps right. Something just clicked of just turn this knob, pull the thing over, I'm in. And
comfort.
That's a big deal. Like,
how did it feel?
Yeah.
So what was the comfort like then? You put it on, boom, it's on. How's that feel?
It felt great for about 20 minutes when I started to feel the weight set in like I do in any other modern VR headset. So, you know, I know what that feeling is, right? Of just, oh, that's right. I'm wearing a thing on my face. I kind of want to go. It's, I have it in every other headset. I'm using Quest Pro multiple times a week, multiple times a day. And it's still, it doesn't sit on your face the same way, but I still get the pressure on the front and back of my head on that particular headset. But on this one, I'm starting to feel that weight after a little bit, so I could see weight being a thing.
Where's the battery pack existing during this sit-down, pinch, and gesture walkthrough?
I'm holding it. I'm keeping it on like the couch next to me. It's sitting like I don't even pay attention to it. If it was sitting on the table, I maybe grabbed it really quick and put it on the couch next to me, and I forgot about it, right? And then, that's where, so as soon as I'm starting to mess with this interface and really getting the hang, and it was maybe 20 seconds to 2 minutes that I'm starting to realize, oh, this is where the icons are that I can target with my eyes. And then the thing that took a few minutes was I'm trying to pinch right in front of my face. And I'm realizing, oh, wait, I can actually pinch down here, and then I put my arm up on the rim of the couch, just like she is shown in the video, and I'm pinching over here, and it's still doing the targeting. And it was really satisfying to realize I'm trained to do this by Quest 2 and Quest Pro right in front of my face, and then sure enough, being able to sort of let that die off right in front of me and never wanting to go back to doing that.
Just like be able to relax your elbow and like put your arms down and kind of sit comfortably while you're navigating everything.
So this thing has cameras all over it, right? There's cameras on the bottom, there's cameras on the side, there's cameras on the front, there's IR sensors, there's depth sensors, I have never seen so many cameras and sensors on a headset. But the way you're describing this, putting your hands to the side, putting your hands below, and everyone else that I've heard talk about this, is it's really hard to get out of the view of these cameras. So no matter where you're pinching, it's responding as if it should. Yeah.
Yep. Fantastic. I've seen other people mentioning missing presses, and yeah, there was a couple times, but it's one of those things where it didn't feel like it was any more missed than missed swipes on a touchscreen, right? It feels the same quality case of like, I feel like I was responsible for that miss more than the technology was responsible for that miss. But it's time will tell. This was a very short demo.
Okay. So you're sitting on the couch, got your battery pack there. They're kind of walking you through some pinch gestures, and you're kind of getting a lay of the land. What happens next?
Well, so they show me the home row of apps, and I'm trying to click on every one I want to, and they're trying to say go back to the previous menu and go into the apps we've pre-selected for you. And I'm like, growling at these people who told me I can't record. I can't even record audibly my impressions. Even for me to have a memory, a timeline memory, a real-time memory of just I'm looking at a pane of content right in front of me now, and I'm moving it over to the left. I'm not even allowed to record audio of myself for myself doing that while I'm in this room. They're like, before I walked in there, it's like, put your phone away in your pocket. And so that was the level of that was frustrating, right? I like to be able to have that kind of rolling record of what I was doing. So they showed me briefly the Photos app. They showed me the different types of immersive content they've got, and there's several types of kind of immersive content. There's 180 videos, which are straight from NextVR. So they had people. I've seen this question out there multiple times. So there's a company called Next3D. It changed to NextVR. And they had a partnership with the NBA where they were putting their great camera technology courtside at NBA games. And you could go into a VR headset and sit courtside or even up on the rim of the basket and watch the game from that angle in a VR headset with the best quality stereoscopic streaming technology in existence. And Apple, the company ran out of money, couldn't do what it was doing independently right during that phase of Quest taking over, and Apple bought the company. So I'm seeing all those familiar clips of being on the first baseline at a baseball game and being up there on the rim of the basketball hoop for a game of basketball, a pro game. And it's beautiful content, but you can't lean. It's not working to lean around that content, which it still works, right? If you have a company that's backing it like Apple, right? There was a period there where Meta explored some of these things, but a company with the production or money to kind of regularly stream a lot of those things over a multi-year span, you might sell some people on an Apple TV subscription, right? If they know that they can go on the first baseline and have front row tickets to their favorite baseball game 2 or 3 times a season. It doesn't really work when you've got, a cell phone you're slotting into a holder or stuff like that. It might work when it's this level of quality. I don't know. Right. It still feels like one of those things that's a couple of years out, but that was one type of immersive content they showed. Then they've got the memories, the things that you're actually capturing with the headset, videos or still photos. It felt like those, billboarded to follow my gaze as I was moving, which, again, that's not the same as, fully immersive walk-around VR content. And then they point out there's the environment, so you can dial in how much of the physical environment you want to see versus how much you want to see a computer-generated environment. With a giant screen in your space. I watched Avatar 2 in 3D for a few minutes, and just fantastic visual quality there. And then they had the FaceTime call, which I could get into the FaceTime call as its own separate thing. But yeah, there was multiple types of immersive content, and all I really wanted to do was get up and walk around, and they saved that for the very end of the demo. A dinosaur walked into the room, and I'm like, you told me to sit down. Can I walk around now? And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And they jump out of my way and move to the walls of the room. And I'm moving up to this portal, up to the wall, and I'm trying to test it as quickly as I can to move around it and peer as far as I can. The exact same demo I did at GDC with Resolution Games, I think on a Quest Pro, probably.
Spatial Ops.
But Spatial Ops, yeah. Spatial Ops had the identical demo at GDC with a bad guy running into your space. This time it's a dinosaur, but it looks fantastic. It's that beautiful on this headset. But as I'm doing this walk around thing around the dinosaur, the Apple employees are like, just remember the wall is really there. And I had to kind of point out to them, I'm not gonna be the first person to walk into a wall in the Vision Pro headset.
Okay, well, this is so awesome. Dude, I have so many things I want to ask, honestly. But Reverend Kyle, our very own Reverend Kyle Riesenbeck is here in the chat, and he did ask...
What's up, Kyle?
Great question. He's saying he never asked you how they were watching your view from another device. Like, how did they know what you were doing? Like, were they casting or something?
Straight up AirPlay to an iPad the whole time. So the moment I'm looking out of the cameras, they're looking out and seeing what I'm seeing. AirPlayed to what it looked like an iPad in their hands. I assume it was an iPad.
Oh, AirPlay. That's right.
How is the quality of the hand tracking, right? Like, you're doing a lot of pinch gestures and stuff, but I'm sure you were like moving your hands, like you're occluding them, you know, like how does the hand tracking feel?
I mean, so it was a very guided demo to use a single hand to move around the UI for most of the experience. There was not even any element of like, let's try puzzling places with this new interaction paradigm. There's not even a moment of to try like a low key game, like a game where you're not going to move your hands that much.
Yeah. Let
alone like, let's try simulate Beat Saber with my fingers. Like, that's not the kind of demo I'm going to be able to do here. But it worked. The pinches worked well enough, and my feeling of being able to actually look down and see my hands and feel like they were mine was across a line better than what I've seen out of certainly better than the Vive XR Elite that I saw earlier this year, and better than Quest Pro and Quest. But again, that's not the same as like complex gaming interactions, which they didn't give me in this demo.
Yeah. So Apple here seems to be really, really focusing on bringing applications and flat types of things into your real world and have this be more of a practical, everyday headset to be able to actually do things and get things done and be able to read text and go to websites and it looks really cool. Do you from what you've used, how is the clarity of the text? Do you see yourself actually using this for screens everywhere and kind of, messaging with this and, maybe using it as a computer?
Yeah, that's a really, really tough question, right? If I had the money, I would buy the $800 or $900 Samsung panoramic monitor. That's like 2 HDMI. You hook it up to your PC over 2 HDMIs, and you've got 2 full size side by side super wide screens all locked together. That would be my ideal sort of work scenario, right? I need 5 columns over here to see what's happening on social. I need 2 windows right here for my research. I need 1 window right here for my writing. And, I need all the other widgets and stuff that I'm looking to keep my day over here. And there's no computing system anywhere that really, like, you have to spend such a ridiculous amount of money to do what I just described, to have that many feeds of information all available to you at like a workstation type scenario. And yeah, I've used 12-inch laptops. I've used my phone for the years, and it's amazing the work they've done to like give you access to all your widgets and stuff like that very quickly on whether it's iPhone or Android. And they're doing the same thing over on desktop. But you never get past the idea that like your screen real estate is what constrains your thought. It constrains your creative process in ways that like it takes years. Like, I mean, you guys are doing a live broadcast right now with, I'm assuming, OBS and multiple inputs and multiple screens. And it took a huge amount of technical expertise to make it go as smoothly as you make it go smoothly week in and week out. Part of the reason it's like so hard to pull all that stuff off, because you're like, your interface is flexible and it's got to constrain inside this little window that's this big. What happens when you can get the window exactly where you want it right here, and every kind of window that you need is just floating in the exact space you want it to be? So there's a moment in this demo with Vision Pro where they're showing me multitasking, and I had to pick out 3 apps to pull into my space. So I had Messages over here and Safari and one other app. And that Safari app was the only time I got to see text, really, through the entire demo. And it was only up there for a second. Like, I'm ready to want to go to uploadvr.com and read articles on that website to get that in my demo. And you can pull the windows closer and further away. The lasting impression, the only like takeaway I can say from all that, I can't really speak to how the reading works and all that because I didn't read enough to pass judgment. It's just the interface of resizing these things and putting them exactly where I want them made MetaQuest seem antiquated immediately, right? Like, I have struggled with that interface for years now, and Apple just right out of the gate, I'm resizing all these things with hand gestures right in front of me. It works perfectly. It literally just works, just like Apple has always claimed. And I'm cussing out Meta's UI department to Apple and feeling awful about it because I'm trying to be objective at the same time. But like, it's legitimately like enormously frustrating that you can't do this simple thing on Meta's system as easily as you could instantly here. So like, I do really think that there is an enormous future for this idea of private windows representing all the things you go into on separate windows on your phone and don't have the screen real estate for on your laptop or your single screen desktop. And there's a certain category of use cases where it's just a better call to put on the headset than it is to go to the specific station where you've got a triple monitor setup. I do feel like it crosses a barrier there, but again, like, Meta's, we did a team meeting for UploadVR in Horizon Workrooms recently, and Kyle is there in our comments, and we're there. He is there in one Quest Pro. I'm there in another Quest Pro. We've got the other team members all in headsets, and I pop into this room, and we're all on like the latest version of Meta software. I've reinstalled I restarted the headset. I updated Horizon Workrooms to the latest app, and I am in a literal different reality than every other person in my meeting. I am shown an empty, it's the Langoliers. If you've ever seen the Langoliers. Oh
yeah, Stephen King.
I'm in a world with nobody else, but I can hear them from their reality. But my office space here in Horizon Workrooms is empty, right? But I can still hear them. And to them, they're showing me like I'm a video chat participant. So it's just like an empty eye up on the TV screen. Like I look like the Eye of Sauron looking into this meeting because they're showing a big eye on this 2D monitor. I'm wearing your $1,000. We bought it at $1,500. I'm wearing your freaking headset. I've installed your Horizon Workrooms software. I've met up with my friends and with my colleagues and friends in your specific thing, and you're showing me a different reality than my coworkers. And never mind that I've tried to install Virtual Desktop, their version of Virtual Desktop, and it doesn't work. I'm not able to bring my PC in to the experience. A miserable experience for everyone involved, and we're trying to use Meta software the way they intended, right? Yeah. That's the experience of using a MetaQuest Pro right now. And I'm resizing these windows immediately, and it's not the same as hooking up my MacBook Air and resizing all of those windows. But like, it was enough to convince me that when they actually ship this thing, it'll work as they intended to work. And so they didn't show me enough to like convince me, they're gonna outdo. They showed me enough to convince me it's going to be better, but I didn't actually see it with my own eyes, is the way I'll put it.
Okay.
This is interesting, the things you talk about, right? Because whenever you start something, or a car company, for example, they're going to build a new car. Well, they can go and they can grab all the other cars from all the other car companies and see, how did they do this? How do we do this better? All these things. But we're in a field here where everyone's literally inventing the wheel as we go, right? So there isn't really any best practices. Everyone's just kind of trying to figure it out. So I feel your pains there with a lot of these things not working properly sometimes, but when they do, they're magical, right? And that's why we love this.
Yeah, I will say I've been known to just like trash on Horizon Worlds, right? Like Horizon Worlds, I went to OC6, I saw the initial presentation for the platform, and like I saw like the promises that they're trying to deliver on that, and then the reality of that ever since has just like fallen so short for me that to me, it's not a platform that is worth my time. However, my experiences in workrooms are like the opposite of that. Like I personally have had great experiences in workrooms, and I've been able to get in relatively easily. The remote desktop application works for me, so I can pop open my computer screen and I'm there cruising around on my computer while I'm in a meeting. So I have had some great experiences with workrooms, but I do understand where you're coming from. I just wanted to like provide. I feel like it's fair to provide that.
Good experience. I've had good experiences in there too. The audio is great, but like it still needs to work on command every time, right? And that's what I expect out of an iPhone, and it's what I'm going to expect if I spend $3,500 on this headset. And it's what I expected. It's what people should have expected of Meta for spending $1,500 on the Quest Pro.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
So I have more questions here. I'm curious, were you able to get any kind of demonstration of like the eyeball vision thing, where like you put it on, you can see people's eyes while they're in the headset? Did you see that working?
No, I didn't see it operational at all. It wasn't. So the faceplate, the external display, has multiple modes. There's this hazy mode to indicate that you're fully immersed and you're not seeing. Then there's the eye mode. Well, all the headsets on all the stands everywhere are showing the hazy mode, and the executives at Apple weren't putting the headsets on themselves to show it off. Now, this is going to take me to the last part of the demo where like I think I've praised, and I praised it in my writing, and if I came out against any of this, I didn't mean to, because everything I think I've described in this so far from this Vision Pro demo blew me away. Just like I said, the best headset demo I've ever had. Bar none, they did everything right. And I've been through a lot of different, like, even the onboarding was just incredible. And then the actual time in a headset was phenomenal. The thing that upset me was the avatars that they have, that what they call them personas. So they're like, okay, well, you're going to get a FaceTime call from a person who's wearing a Vision Pro headset, and they're going to show you a freeform whiteboard floating in front of you. All right, so then a call comes in, and I think I tapped join the call, and there's a person's face right in front of me, and I can pinch to move them off to the side, and then the person brings up a whiteboard in front of me. And so this is an app. Google has its own whiteboard, Microsoft has its own whiteboard, every company has its own like shared whiteboard experience. This is Apple's, and they just shipped it kind of stealthily at the end of last year. But you make changes anywhere on the whiteboard, and it changes instantly for someone else. And you've got to be obviously in Apple's ecosystem and make it work. But this avatar that was captured, Apple says this avatar that they're representing in this FaceTime call was captured by the headset, and now I'm watching them and all their face movements. And I'm making eye contact and really looking at it. And I'm feeling uncomfortable. After just a short amount of time, there's something missing in the way the mouth is moving, like I'm seeing ghost teeth in the mouth, like something. It's one of these things, an artifact I've noticed in various systems of just bad capture. It's something is not synced up in your capture system, and it just something looked a little off in this live representation of a person to me. Now, it looked good, right? In the grand scheme of things, it looks better than some of the other things out there. But it still was somewhere in the uncanny valley. It still was not the type of avatar I would really want to have a long conversation with. And I came out trying to talk to a couple other journalists, like, did you see that too? Was that in the uncanny valley for you? And it seemed like maybe I was in the minority of people who were bothered by this.
Oh, really?
Now, I did codec avatar demo at Meta last year, and that was running from a PC, from a scan that was extremely arduous, like a lengthy scan and multiple, hundreds of cameras. It was phenomenal. Those experiences running off a PC were amazing. It felt like I was talking to a person that wasn't really there. Like I had a long distance conversation, and this works pretty well, right? As like a communication system. Like you've found a great medium for how to do this over 2D, but I'm talking like 3D, a person teleporting into another house. You need to get out of the uncanny valley and believe that that person is actually there.
But I mean, have we spent any time in actual uncanny valley, right? Like, because every other avatar experience we've had before now has just been like, Ready Player Me or Horizon Worlds or VR Chat.
Right. You go with babies because you're not threatened by babies, right? That's why I go through this all the time with David Hanney, right? Like, he's an avatar expert. You go with these simplistic cartoon avatars because you're not threatened. They're further out the uncanny valley towards just simplistic representations. It's a steep slope to make people uncomfortable, or to do something that still represents the way a person wants to look but is quickly producible. They call them personas. So these things you scanned, and hypothetically they're scanned just to you. No one else can go where your persona is. Meta has the same thing with codec avatars. Hypothetically, if you get those scanned, they'll be locked to you. So these companies are aware of like the fear of someone else wearing your face, more or less, for meetings. And we haven't seen the whole like how this authentication system works yet. I'm very curious how it's going to work across systems. But there's this assumption that I had going back years with Meta, where are we going to have headsets that are biometrically locked to us? And we are, right? It's like it's an inevitable thing that you're going to unlock these things with your appearance. I forgot your question, but I just have to say, like, Meta's demo last year, that was the end game. That is the headset that runs the meta codec avatars I saw last year. When it runs that in standalone, and you can scan your head in standalone and have the quality be good enough to then put on the headset and have it look like the PC quality I saw right then, that's the Holy Grail headset. That's the headset that becomes 100% a phone, but a transporter, right? A phone transporter. That's what I want. That's the headset where you put this thing on and realize, holy crap, I can have 3 people in 3 states all come, and I feel like I'm actually having a real communication.
And this headset doesn't have any kind of cellular capabilities, right? It's just like a computer, Wi-Fi.
Well, that's there was no talk about it, right? There's no statement whatsoever that it's going to have anything like that. Cellular would be a whole nother drain on battery. Like, it's a whole nother category of chip processing and draining that, like, you would need to put that, like, where would you put that? You wouldn't want to have that extra heat on the headset for no good reason. And, like, do you move it to where the battery pack is? I don't know. I think a couple people have gotten to ask Meta over the years, are you going to put cellular in your headsets? I remember this interview with one of the early Oculus executives who was working at Facebook and still sort of leading something, and asking, would you consider Oculus Go a communications device? Do you consider it a phone? And the PR rep that was sort of managing the conversation was like, don't answer that. Looking over at the executive. think it's a leading question to think of these things as phone replacements or PC replacements. But it's understandable for Meta, and Meta in particular, to just, they've got a game console. They've built towards a game console business. But these other things are coming and useful, and the bigger idea at the end of the day. But what do the stepstones look like to that? Like, everyone is looking at this $3,500 device and going, if this is the Vision Pro, what does the Vision look like? Mm-hmm. What do they remove from this hardware to ship it at a more affordable price? And it's a really fascinating question to think in context of what just happened to the Quest Pro, right? Quest Pro was launched at $1,500, dropped immediately down to $1,000, and people are now looking at this hardware kit going, is that a dead end? Is this thing going to get updates? Is the eye tracking for this headset good enough to let devs do the same R&D work that they're about to do with the Vision Pro, with the Quest Pro? So Quest Pro has obviously hand tracking, but it also has eye tracking. So conceivably you could target everything you see inside the headset the exact same way you do on Vision Pro. But we haven't seen any software release from Meta indicating that they're actually going to release that as a big part of their platform. It could drop at any minute from Meta, or it could just be one of these dead ends and they move on to the Quest 3 hardware and beyond. Yeah, sorry.
So, no, this is absolute gold, bro. I am loving this so much. I do want to take a second to throw out some shout outs to these super chats that have come in. We had a $20 super chat, which is, that's a juicy one, right?
That is. Thank you so much.
From guess who? Classy Grandma.
Oh, Classy. How's it going?
Yeah, she cruised in late today and said, sorry I'm late. Hello, Ian. Love you guys and the BR fam. Whoop, whoop. Carry on. We will. We also had a $10 super chat, which I also really, really love, from our homie, Wise Director over at VR Central. Nice. Earlier, you said that people are not threatened by babies. He's like, not threatened by babies. Let me tell you about a game called Gorilla Tag. Which is probably chock full of babies right now as we speak. And then of course Gamertag VR with the $1.99 in the pounds, and he says milk was a bad choice. And I'm wondering what the context was for that comment, but I really like it.
Well, you don't want milk on a Vision Pro, I would think. That's funny.
That's funny. GT saying, read my super chat, bitches. So we did. Oh, and Snow Toad also with a 149 in the euro. No, that's a pound too. 149 in pounds. Thanks, from Snow Toad.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. You guys are the best. We really appreciate your support.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I love this discussion. I love the kind of a little bit of the comparison between the Quest and the Vision Pro, and what they could be doing to improve this. A lot of what's happening on the Quest here, and the reason, one of the reasons it's maybe a little cheaper, is they're using a really powerful cell phone chip, right? And they've been able to do amazing things on the Quest platform using this chip. Really have come, just so far in graphic fidelity and multitasking and all of this stuff, being able to use the Qualcomm XR2, and that's pretty sick. But what really blew me away when I was watching the Apple Vision Pro presentation was that they put an M2 processor in this thing. So this is the chip that they use. This is a variation of the chip that they use in the MacBook Pro, which is like one of their flagship computers, right? And they also have an R1 chip here, which is the Reality 1 chip that is handling all of the cameras and the sensors and the microphones and all of this to kind of offload that away from the M2 so it can do its job in processing this. This really blew me away because this really, this opens this up to be not just a mobile phone and a headset, right? To make an all-in-one headset. This could be a full-blown computer, like a MacBook Pro almost, in a headset. And I feel like we've never seen anything quite like this before. In PC terms, you know, this would be like putting an Intel i9 processor inside of a headset. That's bananas, right? Like, I don't quite grasp.
I've tried that. So the irony is, Intel Alloy, Intel made a headset. I mean, so Intel had a whole history. And one of the, so they rolled this headset out on stage, and one of the features that Intel Alloy had was a person could walk up to you in the headset, and it would pass through their view and show you in the headset this person has just walked into your space. That's one of the features of the Vision Pro. It's built into the headset to do that. And I know people who worked at Intel that are now working at Apple, right? So it seems like the right choice to go for a higher end class chip in order to pull off this fully creative vision. But like, yes, it's impressive they're using an M2, but I noticed David Hanney pointing out that we don't know what it's clocked at. We don't know what sort of thermal restrictions they're going to have to put on this thing in its first generation to actually, like, you know, they don't know how people are going to use this thing, right? They don't know if most people are going to spend the whole time docked and plugging this thing in continuously, or if people are going to want to go play really active VR games, right? Like, that's the really ironic thing is Meta put out these headsets without assumptions on a lot of things. I've heard them point out things like the way the sensors are tuned for light. They assumed that people would be doing VR in much brighter rooms than they actually did their VR. And so they had to go back to the drawing board and adjust some things for the realities of how people were using these devices out in the real world. Apple's in, that's one of the reasons to put this out here now, is to learn those things so that the next generation can, put in the next generation processor, the R2 processor, and it's even, more power efficient, better battery life, get them on the path to stay ahead of what Meta's going to do, because Meta is happy to partner with Snapdragon and the Qualcomm chip right now, but eventually Meta's going to want to do those things themselves to take their hardware as far as they possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. And you did mention there about games, and I feel like a lot of the hate that this is getting, that this headset's getting, is because it might have a lack of VR games. They didn't talk about games. This isn't for gamers. I put out a tweet the other day saying, gamers, there's about 2.69 billion gamers in the world. There's 5.19 billion non-gamers, and it almost makes more sense to go after that larger pot of people, which are not gamers. But these people, there are a lot of iPhones out there. There's a lot of computers. People use computing for everyday things, to accomplish things, to get their news, to get, to pay their bills, to go in and write, and to work. So it makes sense to not target the gamers for Apple, but people still want games, right? This crowd, particularly the people here in this chat, most of our community was built off of VR gaming.
Yeah.
Do you see a future where there's no controllers on this headset, where we could potentially get some good high-end games? I do know there's a couple games that were confirmed to be coming, like Windlands 2. We saw things from Hello Games, saying No Man's Sky is coming. Do you see a future where hand tracking could be used to control, for some more complex games in VR?
So on a couple of those, so No Man's Sky is just confirmed for Apple Flat, I believe, and I haven't seen the confirmation that they're going to be on Apple, Apple Vision yet. Rec Room is the one that was shown in a slide and has said that they're looking at hand tracking support. I put a little bit about this in my editorial today that I put up. People, I don't know, there's something odd about Apple and its vibe and what people expect out of them, that like they announced the thing on Monday, and by Friday we're wondering where the features are that we all want, right? Like it's not shipping until early next year, and that could be, March to April of next year. And we all want there to be features in Vision OS 2.0 that we all love in our current systems. There's a very strong history at Apple of things like copy and paste, right? Copy and paste wasn't there for years in the iOS system. Lots of features that people like to joke about on Android and iPhone, like Android has had that for about 10 years, and then Apple finally comes out and does its similar thing. Famously, back at the launch of the iPhone, Steve Jobs joked that it would have a stylus, and then said, oh, we're not going to use a stylus, we're going to use our fingers to type on this thing. And then I remember there being comments about iPad when it came out of it not needing a stylus, right? And then sure enough, a bunch of years pass and they release Apple Pencil, because there's this whole mode of using a tablet to write naturally that people are very, very familiar with. And I think they released 2 generations of Pencil. The first one has a bit of a latency to it. Then the second generation is really spot in and dialed in for Apple Pencil delivery. You think about that path of Apple Pencil not being there, and then Apple Pencil being there but kind of laggy, and then it being like the designer's choice. Like there's plenty of designers out there that will go out and pick an iPad and an Apple Pencil because they've got that experience that locked in. Apple Vision, Apple Touch make a lot of sense as getting to your senses covered.
Yeah. Well, this is so fascinating. I'm loving this conversation, but I am going to start to wrap this up. Otherwise, we'll just sit here all day and just have you continuously give us your perspective on this apparently amazing demo that you've done. So what I would like to do is maybe give our chat an opportunity to just ask some questions now in the chat. If there's something that we haven't covered yet that you've kind of been curious about, go ahead and drop it in chat now, and I'll pull a couple of those questions in before we wrap this up. Mine being, I have a question about like the perceived durability of this headset, right? Like it's like got a screen on the front of it, so, and I've seen, the memes have not been in short supply since this thing got announced. Like there are constant memes pouring in at all times. And one of them that I liked the most was like, everybody's Vision Pro after day one, and it's like got a bunch of cracks on it, like a dropped iPhone. You know what I mean?
Because they walked into a wall or
right,
something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like based off of what you felt and like, the build quality, like could this thing survive a drop if you accidentally fumbled it onto your ceramic tile, or is that just going to destroy that thing?
Oh man, such a hard question. I remember, I feel like there's a bit of Apple lore out there of Steve Jobs walking into a room after they had announced the iPhone, and he pulled, maybe it wasn't Steve Jobs, maybe it was just an Apple executive, but there's this fabled story of pulling the phone out, and it was because the phone had traveled in the pocket with keys. He's showing all the scratches on the iPhone screen and saying, why would you allow this to happen? And they had to go out and swap the glass technology out the front of the device, weeks before it was actually ready to hit the market. I didn't drop it. It felt really solid. I have no idea if it'll survive a drop. That's scary to even think about. All that makes me think about is what's the AppleCare Plus plan on this thing?
Yeah, because you're gonna get it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's such an investment. Like you need to cover that.
It is, and this is only starting at $3,500. It's starting at 35.
You got
so
multiple straps.
Dude, I just shuddered. Like I literally shuddered while you were saying that.
Yeah, and who knows what that means? Could it be memory? Could it be that you need prescription lenses and that's why it could be more? Could it, there's a million reasons why there could be more expensive versions of this. But the fact of the matter is it is expensive. There should be some kind of a protection plan just in case. And from what I've heard, they were very concerned about people sticking their face through the wall to look through the dinosaur demo, right? So, that very well could bash your face into a wall for someone that's new to VR. People forget they're in VR all the time. You see people jumping off the plank in Richie's Plank experience all the time and destroying things. So I do hope they have an AppleCare system, because if I broke my Vision Pro and I spent $4,000 on it after tax or whatever, I'd be very, very sad.
Bro,
yeah.
that is so much money.
Yeah.
There's so much money.
One of the things that I've entertained myself with is what can Apple do with its physical retail space that Meta can't. So that Meta had that one retail store out in California they opened up as like a test. And what I was describing earlier with the real avatars and the personas versus the codec avatars, is there any value in using your physical locations to set up a serious capture rig where you go in and basically do you could come in an outfit and hypothetically and get scanned in your outfit and have that outfit be your persona going forward, along with, the way your hair is cut that day, now scanned in for your permanent location? And could they get the quality of that avatar via that location-based scan to be a differentiator? I don't know. It's, it's a tough question of whether they can actually scale any of this, right? When I talked to Meta about this, it was like clear they thought it had to be done by the headset or by a phone. But it's one of those advantages that I think about would be interesting to consider Apple might be able to do here.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense. I think that would be a huge deal if you could walk in and get like a really good quality version. You went to the Apple store, you got this thing, and now it's, super high res version. But what I will say here too, I really love the idea of these being in Apple stores, and I've said this before in shows, but a big part of this headset isn't just people going out and buying this thing for $3,500, because let's be real, the majority are not going to do that. Money is tight. These aren't the best times to have expendable income. But what will happen here is people will be going in for a new iPhone. People will be going into the Genius Bar to have, some problem looked at. And they're going to be waiting for a minute. And they're going to look over and they're going to see this thing. And they're going to go, what is that? And they're going to go put it on. And they're going to have their minds blown.
Yeah.
And they are going to know VR, AR, MR, whatever it is, spatial computing for the first time, some of these people. And all of a sudden now this is going to be in their reality. Now there's this new tech that they never knew of that just melted their brain, right? And now this is now in the forefront of what they know exists. And that's huge. That's huge for the industry. No matter what this thing costs, that people are going to go have this experience.
I agree. Ian, do you know anything about the storage on this headset?
They didn't. They were more than like. It was. They called some of the briefing materials off on background, but it was all basically off the record, right? Like they're not to be quoted. They're giving you information in. They wanted people to talk about their experience, and they wanted people to have a good experience. So, like, granted, that's extremely controlled from Apple's end. They controlled this demo to an extraordinary degree, and by and large, it worked, right? Everyone that went through it went through the steps exactly as Apple sort of prescribed. But they wouldn't say, questions like field of view, things like that are just, we're not talking about that right now. We'll get to that later.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything that you been wondering about that we haven't had a chance to ask about yet, Skiva?
I don't think so.
I feel like this has been so comprehensive, dude.
It has been.
Thank you so much for all of this information. For the record, like this, we were like wondering like what you'd be able to tell us and what but like now I feel like I was there with you. Like you've done such a good job of just like going through every kind of stage of this thing, and I personally feel like I have a much better idea as to what's going on with this headset.
I do too, and this is almost at the same time almost a bummer because I really wanted to dive more into Ian. Right.
Yeah. Well, we had a chance,
for a minute, but no, I'm not satisfied. Like I want more Ian, but this was very, very important news. This is very important for the industry. I think a lot of people really want to know as much as they can about this headset. So thank you for sharing your experiences and going out there and being everyone's eyes and ears during this event. And I look forward to more coverage. I do want to say there's a very important question here in the chat from a certain bespectacled individual named Kyle Rasenbeck, who says, Ian, if you could be any flavor of ice cream, what would it be?
Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you. It feels like a big responsibility to be out there and know that not a lot of people got invited. know that there's a lot of different perspectives out there. I've seen it in the comments, right? Like, being objective here and being separated from what I'm reporting on, it's hard, right? Like, these technologies are part of us. I think of the way Facebook has shaped thought and social interaction over the years, requiring our real identity on their space and then changing policies. We are shaped by these technologies around us, and all I can do is be upfront with what technologies I know, what technologies I love, what technologies I hate, how technologies change my mind, right? Like, Meta has a lot of work to do, and Apple has a lot of work to do too. Google, Google's the dark horse here with Alchemy Labs doing incredible hand tracking work that they demonstrated at GDC. Like, I've praised Apple here, and I've been clear that I've been an Apple buyer for much of my life, but it's a collective effort from every company out there and every individual to get this out into the real world and make it a thing that makes people's lives better and not worse, right? I've done interviews with the people who make Supernatural and who are changed by the Supernatural app, and you can discount some of these people now, but within a couple of years' time, virtual reality gyms should be larger than physical gyms. There should be more people working out in headsets than actually go to the physical gym. And like, those are scary, like, non-believing type. Like, go ahead and grant it, disbelieve me. Let's check in 5 years' time and see where we get to. I just thank you guys for having me on. Thank you to the community for like going on this journey with me. I am trying to respect the weight of my position. Like, I know that there's a lot of people want the full story and they don't want it from a fanboy's perspective. So I'm trying to balance as much as I can, and there's a lot of responsibility to Apple to get this right, just like there's a lot of responsibility at Meta to do the same, and we're going to ask them both the same questions going forward.
Yeah, well, we all got into this for one reason, right? And it's because it's amazing to us. Like, we love this stuff. We are very much driven by all of this amazing cutting edge immersive technology, so I'm sure it is a very fine line to walk, trying to like not be too hype and too fanboy, but at the same time, like, you're leaning into your passion for this technology to bring the information to everyone. So, I would say, I personally feel like you're doing it right. It's a fine line to walk, but I think you're navigating it well. I would say, regardless, right, be as objective as you can, but of course still keep the passion, right? Like, that's what we're all here for. And this has just been an amazing debrief of your experience, and I'm so grateful that you came on, man. And of course, to Skiva's point, I don't think we've had enough time together, so we're definitely going to have you come and join us on the show again in the future.
Yeah, I'll if you guys want me on. I love that you guys actually got this on my schedule before I did. I did the math that this would be WWDC week. So you guys are masters at planning that I did not perceive. Like, you guys got me as the closeout of my week for this appearance by planning ahead. So kudos to you for planning this out.
Thank you so much, man. All right, we're gonna say goodbye to Ian Hamilton
in a minute, because a lot of people here are still wanting to know the answer to this question.
Oh, the ice cream one?
What flavor of ice cream would you be if you could pick one?
I said chocolate really fast. But
you did? Chocolate? Okay.
Chocolate.
Okay, so chocolate, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. And I agree. I would be chocolate as well.
Would you?
Yeah, but then it would be weird, because then I'd want to eat myself.
Ooh, that's another podcast. All right, dude. We're going to say goodbye to Ian Hamilton, editor-in-chief of UploadVR. Thank you so much, brother. It means the world to us that you're here with us, man.
Really
see you later.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Boom.
Bye-bye.
And boom, he's gone. And
there he goes.
And that was, wow. That was pretty awesome.
That was great. That was fantastic. It's been such a big week, such a big couple weeks. I mean, we haven't gotten this much new stuff, new hardware, new software, games, all of these things in such a short period of time, you know, since the Rift coming out, like the Rift and the Vive.
Yeah, know? It's been amazing, you know, and like there's so much happening, we can't squeeze it into over 90 minutes.
Yep.
Like we didn't even get to touch on our VRML experience, seeing the very last professional Echo VR tournament.
Yep.
We do have a podcast that we recorded there on our channel, so if you are interested in that VRML thing, I would definitely recommend checking that out because we are able to elaborate on our experience there during that broadcast. Tones by Bones snuck in a $2 super chat here right at the end.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, man. And honestly, like, thank you all for your support during this episode. We've had some great super chats, some great contributions to the conversation. And honestly, like this, we would do this without all of the super chats and without all of the comments. Like, we love doing this, but having you all here, having your support, having you join the conversation with us makes this just so much better for us. You know, like, we are absolutely loving being here. You know, doing Between Realities is a pleasure and an honor alongside of my brother Skiva here. And y'all really make it even more special. So thanks so much for tuning in today. You know, I'm going to kind of cut it, right? Because we've been going over right now, but, and honestly, I think we had more concurrent viewers during this episode than any other episode of Between Realities. So it would be like another 10 minutes if I was going to cruise through the chat right now and like call everybody out one by one. But it was so amazing to see you all. Thank you for your support. Thanks for joining us on the hype train for this Apple thing. And Skiva, tell us what's happening next week.
Man, so next week we have Demo Akuru on the show, and Demo is probably he shows off what's capable with gameplay footage more than anyone else I've ever seen. He has full cinematic movie-like fights inside of VR and things like Blade and Sorcery and different games. And if you go and check out his channel and you see some of this stuff, you will not believe what you see. I mean, this is next level stuff. So really excited to get him on the show. I believe he actually works for Live Now. They saw his stuff too and were like, right? So this will be absolutely great to have him on there. Find out what it takes to do some of these things and kind of dive into that a little bit more. So excited for next week.
Absolutely, y'all. Do yourselves a favor. Check him out on like Twitter or YouTube ahead of time so you can kind of get a lay of the land and
blow your mind
and get hyped, because I'm really excited to find out how he got into all of this, how he pulls this off, and where he's going, because it sounds like he's really starting to get involved in the community and in the industry. So
for sure,
should be great. Well, man, I feel like this is abrupt, but it's not. We've been going over. So that's that, everybody. Thank you so much again. Between Realities VR podcast. Like and subscribe. Check it out on all your favorite podcast platforms.
And especially on UploadVR.
Amen.
Yep.
We will see you next week with Demo Akuru. Have a great weekend, everybody. Reach out to us if you're gaming. Discord in the links.
Bye-bye.